Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the zoo. The minions with me this evening, at least thus far, are Jen.
Hello.
And Adam.
Hello.
We might be joined by Sora. She volunteered, but she also said that she was knackered, so she might have ended up zonking out Ranting.
Good old EP Sora.
Yep. But if we're joined by her, I'll let her do her hellos when she jumps in. But until then, how are both of you doing?
Well, I'm a little bit smug. Just a little bit, though.
Go ahead.
So, we all got hit with the college plague. We all did. But I would say that my city probably got a little bit less of the college plague than all yours because it snowed. Nice. That's how you get rid of the brats. You just provide too much snow for them to want to hassle with.
The old Russian strategy.
Yep.
General Winter.
Not even
let winter descend and everyone else decides, you know what? Being inside is nice.
Wait, there were protests in Kanadistan too?
Oh yeah, Toronto's been fucked over the last week or two.
With Palestinian protesters?
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh yeah, they've been pretty nasty. They did try to hit up most of the major cities. Like that seems to be where they're going. So we did get one. It's just they didn't last for very long.
Is Trudeau? Did he come out with a statement that he's going to ask for their banks to start canceling their accounts? Or
conveniently not. Somehow he doesn't have a problem with this protest, even though it's costing us all money.
Strange that, right?
Yeah,
right?
That's very odd. And when Sora joins, then we can get the Montreal perspective.
Yep. But how are you doing tonight, Adam?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. It's payday, and so
one of the best days of the year.
Well, yeah, and then you pay all your bills, and then you're like, oh shit.
Well, it was payday. I had money, at least for a moment there.
A fleeting moment. No, but it's actually I got a pretty decent strain of herbage. It tastes pretty good, yeah. So I'm happy. I'm at least happy.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I was looking forward to chatting with you all week. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's a surprise for Jen and Sora. Definitely a surprise for Sora. Always a surprise for Sora. But no, yeah, I always look forward to it.
She's not here to ask which number that one is.
I know.
Because he can't convince me always a surprise for Sora isn't part of her filmography.
Oh, no. Kind of. How are you doing, Sanguine?
I'm doing grand. I'm just plating up my dinner, and then I'll be sitting down, chatting with you fine folks, and having bites in between every so often.
See, that was the other thing I'm glad to share with you, Sanguine, because both of you are going to get my joke anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been all about colleges all week, because everywhere you look, it's colleges this and colleges that. And so I was like, it'd be amazing if someone just put a couple of bacon sandwich stands in every single one of these colleges, just smack down in the middle, keep it neutral. Like, don't be anti-Jew either. Just be like, no, I'm just here to be, I'm here to feed the students that aren't vegan.
And I'm here to feed the students that aren't currently at each other's throats, because if you're a Jewish student, you aren't going for the bacon sandwich. If you're a Muslim student, you aren't going for the bacon sandwich. Everyone else, have fun at the sandwich bar.
Yo, okay. See, and this is how you know that these protests are completely they're not grassroots, they're manufactured. Because that is a brilliant idea. They would have had two food carts on each opposite side serving their own cuisine and saying, okay, look, we got these many customers, we got the best food on this side. Instead, it's just the same old tired, and fucking other nonsense. I like the food cart idea. And then all of a sudden a third party comes in, they're serving fucking bacon. Fucking pork
Bacon
chop.
always wins.
Yeah. The frat Chad boys that were saving the flag.
Those guys, fucking fantastic.
Yeah, dude.
Just like some really nice thick cut bacon, nicely smoked, and you make it into whatever you want.
Whoa,
Sandwich out of
man.
it, like
You don't have to take it there. Thick cut bacon dudes.
in front
Serving
of
up
vegans,
some
you
pork.
do. In front of vegans, you do. But it's vegans, the thicker the meat.
Oh, geez.
I'm not sure if we're talking about converting vegans or what exactly the topic is there with
Well,
thicker than meat. But
a lot of the kids at the colleges have these food demands, and apparently they're all vegan.
Oh yeah, the food. Actually, I
makes me
wonder.
think of what German car factory was it? Why am I blanking on it? During the height of the climate protests in Europe, there were a bunch of hippy dippy fucks that went into a German car company, and they sat down, glued themselves to the showroom floor. The German company just went, well, we have new furniture now. And they continued on business, didn't do anything for them. The protesters started to demand that food be brought to them, and the German car company were like, we didn't ask you to be here. Why would we provide you food? And continued on their day. At the end of the shift, they just turned off all the lights, fucking left the protesters there glued to the floor in the dark the entire night. The protesters were making demands for shit buckets and for the staff to carry the shit buckets away after they had used them. And again, the German car company was going, you aren't guests here. You decided to do this. If you want to shit your pants in the middle of our store, I guess you're shitting your pants in the middle of our store. We aren't bringing you shit buckets. We aren't cleaning up after you, other than just to keep the section of floor clean enough. Your mess is your mess. Sit in it if you want to sit in it, or you can fucking leave. And there were a bunch of people that were pissed off that the German car company was being so heartless. It wasn't helping the protesters protest the German car company. Which, that line of argumentation is extremely common, it seems, and it baffles me every time it happens. And yes, there was the protester that had to get hauled out because they started having blood clots in their legs due to how they had glued themselves. They weren't able to get up and move around at all. Hey, Sora, how are you doing tonight?
Hello. Good evening. Happy Friday.
Yep. But yeah, there was a whole bunch of different people that were just pissed off at that protest, and it was absolutely hilarious because every single one of them, it was like, you glued yourself to the floor. Why would the car company have to care about you? You did this. Figure out your own escape, or you can get hauled off to prison. They aren't going to.
Oh, is this the thing in Germany like a couple years back?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I love that. That was good.
Well, you know what
Excellent
makes it even
response.
better is that most car companies have a toilet. If they hadn't cemented themselves to the floor, they could have just gone to the toilet.
Yep. And the entire time, the car company was just like, yeah, we aren't going to facilitate your protest, but we aren't really going to prevent your protest. We just aren't going to make you comfortable during your protest. So when it's closing time, it's closing time. Doors get locked. The heat gets turned off. Lights get turned off. You're now stuck in the middle of a showroom floor without anything to keep warm. And in the darkness, have fun. It was hilarious. And I wish that they would do more shit like that. when it came to protesters. Also, I think that with the current bout of protest, I've heard some people make an argument that I think is a really stupid one, where, well, if you had no problem with this protest or that protest or the other protest or this event or the other event, but you have a problem with this, maybe it's just that you're racist. Or maybe the fact that there's protesters that have forcefully occupied buildings turns it into not just a act of free speech.
Nope, now that's kind of like terrorism, actually, because you're trying to force your way with your politics.
Yeah, you're trying to force people to side with you politically out of fear. And the fact that there were several instances of them holding students and instructors and various other school employees in various structures against their will, that kind of sounds like kidnapping and hostage taking. So yeah, that isn't a free speech issue at that point. You want to show up in the school quad, have your signs, be marching around saying, this is fucked up, we don't like this, then have at it. But the moment that you start taking structures, the moment that you start restricting people's movement in order to try to intimidate them into siding with you politically, yeah, there's a word for using violence and fear in order to gain a political move and political power.
Well, that's the thing, though. I mean, this is the same tactic we've seen before during the Summer of Love riots.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is where it gets to the point of who is noticing these patterns and who is recognizing the bullshit for what it is. We all know. I mean, it's obvious that we've seen it. Now, who else is going to see it, and who else is going to still deny it? That, oh no, that's not happening, because I still see it. I was seeing some interviews and back and forths with the pundits, and they both are pretty much like, oh no, our side's not doing anything wrong. What are you talking about? How dare you, accuse us of being yada yada, because now all of a sudden you're a bad person. And it's like, dude, do you guys not see the bullshit for what it is? Oh, and hi, Sora.
Hello.
But no, there is some truth to it. Like, yes, I did laugh at the banana event because it was funny, but at the same time, though, it was like, come on, guys, you like, that's kind of a little bit immature. But at the same time, though, like, it's this constant destruction of property. They all think that they're some kind of MLK warriors, and I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but Martin Luther King was very keen on people not destroying things because he thought it was bad for his movement. Like, people doing that, he would get mad at them. He would like speak out against it because it was like, you aren't really helping my movement. He was a preacher. He was about like, let's speak one-on-one and try to discuss things as two people. What they're doing is it's just Marxism. It's just Marxism. And yeah, I'm not on the side of the Jewish kids, but I am, because you're attacking them. I have to be on their side because you're actually physically attacking them. And a lot of them are just going to class. And I actually think what you should be doing as a system is actually asking for proper refunds, because if the schools are going to treat your other students like that, and that it's like, I joked it was $80K, but then, your American friend, my American friend started laughing at me because, I don't know how much college is, but it's not something to be brushing off.
Especially the amount of student debt and loans and all that sort of stuff that comes with it.
Well, I mean, I think the even more malicious part of it is, as you were saying, the people blocking the students, and I think even a few professors from getting to class. A lot of those people, as it turns out, when they raided some of the camps and started arresting people, they weren't even students.
Yep.
So I mean, these are random fucking people just walking onto campus and harassing students who paid to go there. And again, this is the thing, because this is where they try and get you on both sides. Oh, well, don't you think about genocide? Oh, think about, this thing, and oh, think about this. It's like, bro, I'm looking at this action right here and what you're doing. That's what I'm focusing on right there. I don't care about your thoughts. I don't care about your feelings. Right now, you're blocking this person and you're being an asshole. Get the fuck out of the way.
Yep. It's also the amount of teachers I've been seeing do that. And I'm like, clearly we know what the problem is. And it's been a lot of teachers who maybe should have been let go a long time ago, because they're using their students. They are using their students as shields. They are human little shields, because they don't know what they're talking about. Like, you talk to these kids and their empty little noggins are filled with fluff. And I'm like, do they just teach you with TV? Like, do you read anything other than the Marxist shit that they give you? I wasn't joking when I said that comment about 9/11. Like, I thought I was hyping that up, but no, I think they think everything is a movie.
Yeah, it's infuriating because, again, it's the shit. There's free speech, and yeah, you should be allowed to say what the fuck you want. There's certain actions that count as speech. Yeah, works for me. You want to throw up a billboard? That's an action that counts as speech. You want to wave a poster, a sign, that type of shit? Yeah, that's an action that counts as speech. You want to kidnap someone? No. That isn't an action that counts as speech. That counts as kidnapping. That's illegal. You want to forcibly occupy a building? Yeah, that doesn't count as speech either. That's an action. That's illegal. Not every action is free speech. You don't get to say that when you kick the shit out of someone, that's your free speech. No, it isn't. That's assault and battery. There's a difference.
And you know what their next move is going to be? Is going to be explain it away because reason X, reason Y. That's the same thing we saw with BLM. Oh, the reason they had to burn down this store and loot it is because X and Y. It's like, dude, no, that's fucking retarded. Like, this is unnecessary, and we know it's unnecessary. And even with that, people were saying that they were being bussed in, and now we're seeing that people are actually getting bussed in to these protest areas. So I mean,
it's very common to pay for people to do the protests, right?
Oh yeah,
just put more bodies there to do the destruction. So it's not surprising that those aren't students that go to the area or live in the area or whatever.
Yeah, and you can make the argument, and oh well, they just really believe in the cause and they want. It's like, no, dude, no, come on. A couple years ago, I can understand that, but now you're just the light's shining brightly on it.
It's also the level of destruction that they've left behind. It does actually infuriate me a little bit as somebody who spent as much of my time as I did watching our own trucker convoy. Sora, they like to really hype up how much damage they left behind, even though you could watch the boys cleaning the streets as they were bored.
Yeah.
Did they really?
They were cleaning up graffiti and trash off the street because they were bored.
Did they clean up after themselves when they left?
Yeah. Well, as much as you can when you're getting kicked out of something.
Well, yeah. Because I think it was because I keep confusing or combining Occupy Wall Street with the Tea Party. I know it was
They were different movements.
They were different movements. It was kind of started the same, but it started separating at one point.
Yep.
But I think the Tea Party was the one where, yeah, they did the same thing. Where after they left, they cleaned up everything. And
it started off where they were unified, and then Occupy started getting completely undermined and became if you aren't for these extreme far left policies, then you aren't part of this group.
Yeah.
And Tea Party people went, yeah, I'm just complaining because
taxes
the
are cheap.
bailout was bullshit.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go and I'm going to continue talking about how this action was bullshit. If you want to just talk about how this action is bullshit rather than how we all identify, come join me. And they walked off.
And we didn't hear about them until recently because they're kind of popping up again. Not in the same way, but and I honestly I say as much as flack I give old Timmy Pool there, he is right that's when it got corrupted, is when wokeism got in there and started doing the, hey, we got to do, we got to think about it between this group and this group, and it's like no, they're fucking us all over. Let's not.
It turned an argument that was in good faith and very focused as to what it was talking about and sensible in what it was saying of, hey, this was set up, this was bullshit, this bailout shouldn't have happened, and this market failure shouldn't have happened because it was a market failure that was made to be a market failure. And when I say it was a market failure that was made to be a market failure, one of the major policies that led to the market failure was a massive expansion saying that you need to give out loans to people that are risky borrowers.
Wasn't it beneficial for them to do that?
It was beneficial because the government said, because we're forcing you to give these loans to people that are risky borrowers, we're going to back the loans that you give out. So then it became, oh, we might not get paid back by the people that we're giving these loans to, which under the old way that loans were done, if you were chancy, you had to give over collateral of a specific worth in order to even be considered for a loan. Because if you reneged on your side of the deal, paying back the loan, then they would just take whatever your collateral was. Then the federal government went, well, we want to increase home ownership, and we want to increase home ownership specifically within different groups. So they put out a policy of you will give loans to people that are risky borrowers. In order to mitigate your risk, these are all going to be government-backed loans. A government-backed loan means that if the person that took out the loan defaults, the government will pay back up to whatever the amount that it's backed to. And the amount that was backed to was the full price of the loan. So you had banks that were told by the government and then incentivized by the government to give out risky loans. They gave out risky loans. Mm-hmm. Banks, not being entirely stupid, went, hey, we don't like having these risky loans in our possession. Yeah, they're government-backed, but if the government ever decides that they're just going to renege, we don't want to be holding the risky loans. Mm-hmm. So what they started doing is they started packaging risky loans and safe loans together. And they would package fewer safe loans with a lot more risky loans, reducing the number of risky loans that they held. And they would sell those off for a sum of money that was enough to recoup the amount that they had already put in and then some. So they got a little bit of a profit off of selling the loans. Eventually, when you have a bunch of bad loans that are all being packaged and traded around, and each time that they're traded, they go up in value a little bit, and then up in value a little bit, and then up in value a little bit, but they're all government-backed loans, so if the lenders fail to pay them, well, the government's going to pay them, so it's perfectly fine. You just keep the ball rolling. Only problem is there's only so far that the ball can roll.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had the crash when people realized, holy shit, we've just been trying to hot potato these bad loans. People have spent money in hot potatoing bad loans. But all of these loans are insured by the government. Hey, government, these loans the people never paid for. You insured them. Pay us for the loan. The government paid out the loan. It should have never happened. It should have never been a thing. But again, what happened was the government said, you will give bad loans. We will back bad loans.
As you do.
So banks, because they were told that they had to give bad loans, and because they told that bad loans were backed by the government, gave bad loans. And then when the loans failed, as everyone knew they would, because that's the reason why they were categorized as bad loans, they went to the government and asked for payout. Should have never happened. Shouldn't have been a thing.
Nope. And apparently, large chunk of the American population have goldfish memory.
Yep.
So, you know, they go out there and, oh yeah, that didn't happen, and they just keep marching on, and it's like, well,
no, it wasn't that the government told them that they had to give the loans. It was deregulation that caused this issue. No, because if banks were not told to give bad loans, the bank would have said "fuck off" when they were asked for a loan from someone who wasn't a good person to give a loan to. It's kind of like if you have that one friend that is the notorious just piss poor with money friend. They will spend every dollar that they ever get. They never pay back any loans. They never do anything like that. And that friend comes up to you and goes, hey, can you loan me $1,000? Your response is going to be, no, fuck off. I'm not giving you $1,000. You never paid back any loan. You still owe me like $400 if we sum up all the $5 loans that I gave you. You've never paid them back. You've never done anything in order to give back in any way. It's not like when I'm a bit shy on cash, I'm able to go, hey, can you cover this meal for me? We aren't trading back and forth meals like I do with these other guys. It's just every time you ask me for money, I've given you money, you've never paid it back. No, no more.
What about that? What about if you loan somebody like $20 and then later down the road they're like, oh hey, let me get you lunch, and it comes out to around $20.
That's perfectly fine. That's a normal friendship.
Would you consider that an equal?
Yeah, that's a normal
reciprocity.
friendship.
Yeah, that's the definition of reciprocity.
My best friend that I've had since halfway through 8th grade, he and I just have a nebulous floating tab going between us, where each of us kind of knows the last time that the other one covered us for something. We don't remember the exact amount, but it's like, oh yeah, he got me this drink when we were here, or the last time that we went to dinner, he covered the cost. So next time that I'm able to, when we go to dinner, I'm going to cover the cost of his meal. And it's just a back and forth because we like being friends. We like being around each other. So it's a normal thing that there's always kind of a nebulous floating tab of who owes who a beer or a dinner.
Ah, okay. So what about this? Because I have this fear sometimes, but I can't help myself, and I tend to do this a lot, especially if you get me a little sauced up. But I'll sit there and be like, dude, let's order some pizza, let's order some food, and then when it comes time to paying, it's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I got it covered because I brought the idea up.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't expect anybody to pay me back. Do you
Oh,
think?
yeah. There's a difference between, hey, I got you this time, when
Well, not even at this
someone
time.
goes,
I wouldn't expect them later down the road to ever
oh,
be like, oh yeah, here's a pizza and
that's what I'm saying, though, because there's the, oh shit, I forgot my wallet in the car. Don't worry about it. I got you covered this time. And when you go, hey, let's do this. Don't worry about it. My treat. If you ever say the word my treat, that's not part of the nebulous floating tab.
okay.
That's
Yeah,
just you being nice. Like, there have been a good number of times where I know that one of my friends isn't able to go do something that I want to do with the lot of them. And they'll start to say, oh, I would love to, but, and I'll just cut them off and go, no, I didn't ask if you can afford it. I asked, do you want to do it? Because it's going to be covered. Don't worry about it.
yeah. See,
And
I mean,
that is a 0 in that spreadsheet.
see, that's why I think like that. I mean, part of it is like if I did something like that, yeah, because I don't want to, be eating food on my own while everybody else is not, doesn't at least have an option. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, it's I don't know.
But,
It's not like I'm forcing them to be like, you got to pay me or you got to eat this food.
yeah, like I said, there's a difference in the way that it's dealt with. If it's you covering someone else, that it is a, like, again, oh shit, I'm $5 short. And you go, oh, I got it. Then that is kind of, okay, at some point, that person will probably go, oh, let me get you this thing that's about $5. It doesn't have to be exact, but we're out, we're drinking, I'll get you a beer. And that wipes the slate clear. Versus, again, the, no, my treat. My treats never count as part of the nebulous Excel sheet.
You know what? Actually, okay. I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast today. Colin Quinn was on it, and I love them both. Colin Quinn, he's legendary. And the topic of tipping was brought up, and Colin had brought up like it was some like, they made fun of you if you tipped because you're trying to show off, you're trying to do this, and Colin's like, no, I tip because I tip. And Joe Rogan was even like, yeah, even if it was bad service, I'd still tip because you got to tip. There. And for me, because I've seen these arguments about tipping and stuff like, yeah, I shouldn't have to tip and blah blah blah. And as a server, as a one server, it's like, well, I mean, we're doing a lot more than just, punching a button and your food gets like there's a little bit more to it, especially when you get tables that are bigger and you got to carry more plates because nobody wants, oh yeah, I'll bring your food, here's 2, and then I come back with 2 more plates and then 2 more plates, or we don't have Jorge to come out and have that little table thing. It's that moment of kindness, and I think what Joe Rogan said was correct. It's you hope that it's that butterfly effect, that even if the waiter didn't get or the server didn't get a tip from the last person, hopefully the tip that you gave them made them a little bit more happier in their day, and it's going to spread out. And that's that's all. What else can you do?
When it comes to tips, I go for the rule of the better the service, the better the tip.
Yeah.
But I never give nothing in a tip because to me, well, I never give nothing in a tip if it's actual sit-down service. If it's, I'm going to a fast food place, just getting something on a road trip, yeah, I'm not going to tip that.
What about Sonics? Don't they have people on roller skates or some shit?
That is actual service. I'll tip actual service. If it's, I go up to register, I put in my order, or I go up to a touch screen now and I put in my order, and then it just appears at the shelf, that I don't count as tip worthy. If they're actually bringing me my food and going, is everything good? Okay, fantastic. Hope you have a nice day. And then I go on, that I'll tip. If I'm sitting down someplace, I'll tip.
Real quick, I like the responses in chat, but I also want to say, I think we should give the ladies a response on this type of question. But it's often the men that's paying the bill anyway, so they don't really pay the tip to begin with.
Adam needling them before passing the question to them.
I don't think you've hung out with that many women, Mr. Adam, because if you've ever hung out with a group of women, that's what they do in the group. They all argue over who's going to catch the bill for that day.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
they don't necessarily do that with you. I admit
Yeah.
that women are a little bit more brutal with men, but when it comes to women hanging out with women, yeah, that's what the old ladies do. It's like, no, I got the tip. I got it this time. I got it this time. No, you put your wallet away, and that's what you'll get is old ladies arguing with each other on who.
Hold on. Are you talking about like a group of women hanging out, as opposed? Okay, I'm talking like
That's called a coven.
A coven.
Coven.
A coven.
A coven of witches.
A coven.
Group of women hanging out.
Okay, so you're not really portraying yourselves as anything. A coven of witches. That's what
it was a coven of witches. That was the joke.
As they go out to. Oh jeez. But wait. So do you haggle the tipping price? Like somebody ate more?
No.
No.
No, it's kind of like what a lot of guys do. Of if it's a group of friends, there's a fair chance that one of them will go, no, I got it. Put your fucking wallet away. I got it.
Oh,
same shit, different sex.
I do that. But I also like, okay, if we're gonna split it, just I'll tip however much I want. But
if it's a split meal, that's one thing. If it's someone's covering, that's another thing. It's different rules depending on what the scenario is.
yeah,
Also, when it comes to tips, it's always going to be a cultural thing. So, like, if you go to and yes, I am picking on Quebec because they're the ones most notorious for this. They don't tend to tip. It's not actually in their culture. They believe that you should be getting paid enough for your job. So if you're getting like a shit ton of tips,
that's not cover for them. They do it because they're very French.
But yeah, that's what I've heard. Is they don't tend to tip a lot.
It's a Quebec thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they say that on tours and stuff that a lot of people are like, oh, they don't tend to tip.
I was about to say something and I realized that it would be misinterpreted by YouTube if I said it.
And you don't want to offend her.
Yeah, because I was going to say that they are very cheap when it comes to that. Only I was going to use a different word. Now Adam's wondering what the word is.
Well, no, I think it's funny that the lineage stems from Le Français, but yeah, there are some people that I've seen commenting about tipping, and they should have been paid. It's like, well, they're not. So
Well, the thing that the tipping debate here is always raging, because for us, at least in BC, for example, anyone who works in any job, like a service industry, like you work fast food in a sit-down restaurant, whatever, bar, etc., you're still being paid the least at minimum wage, right? And the rest will depend on the type of job you are, your position. Are you a fancy sommelier at a restaurant, or are you just flipping burgers at McDonald's? It's probably going to have a different price point, right? But at the very minimum, you have minimum wage. So you're not fulfilling the rest of your paycheck via tips. So there's no need for that. The tip is like an extra thing, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, for a lot of people are like, well, legally, employers are already paying minimum wage, so why do I need to supplement their income if it's just like a regular thing, like it's not an exceptional service or something extra they've done, where a little bit of a tip is like a sign of gratitude, etc. So people get really nasty with each other here about saying like it should be abolished. This is ridiculous, and they're not wrong, because you've got places now where they're saying, oh, you should be tipping your wait staff 25%, or what, doing their job. The bare minimum. Like if you just go to a sit down restaurant and they don't spill food all over the place, they give you they put in the order that you asked, they bring it back to you. They're not cooking the food. They're just, they're bringing it to your table. They cleared their table, etc. So basically the standard waiter job. So yeah, now put 25% on top of the bill.
Ooh. I mean,
so it's a big thing. Like I'm in a few minds, like I have different opinions about it. My big thing is, if I'm not sitting down, if I am not occupying a space where they have to clean up after me, I'm not going to be tipping more than maybe 10%, maybe 12% at the most, if I'm ordering something that they have to make. If I'm ordering something that's been prepackaged and I'm just buying it off the shelf, I'm not tipping. Because why? Well, like I'm thinking of like at a Starbucks, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just purchasing a cookie, they're not making the cookie. Cookie's coming on a supply truck, right, from distribution warehouse.
Cannibalistic says, I refuse to tip Subway. I've seen the tipping on the Subway thing as well. So they have
we have that here.
Starbucks.
Well, Starbucks has tip. Here it's they have their special. It's the tipping machine shows their It has like their special font, like it's on the app, on the Amazon. Amazon.
They probably get points.
Starbucks app, and it's like $1, $2, or $3. It's not by percent; it's by dollar.
That's strange. Yeah, we do percentage most of the time.
Well, here in most point of service machines, we'll have it as a. We'll definitely have it as a percentage, or you can do custom percent, etc. But for some reason on the Starbucks ones, it's 1, 2, or 3.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And the thing that always kind of drives me crazy about the argument about tipping when it comes to the states is there's a bunch of different groups getting into that argument. There's the waiters and waitresses that really are just fucking killing it. And they're doing an amazing job. They're always in favor of tips. Because they realize that I'm busting my ass, and my busting my ass gets me tipped out nicely, and that causes me to earn a fuck ton more than I would if we went to just straight wages with no tip.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the kind of standard service people are in between. Some of them side with tip, some of them don't like tip. And then you have really shitty ones that are almost always, yeah, we should just be paid.
Mhm.
We shouldn't have to worry about earning a tip. We should just be paid. And then you have the general population. So, sorry, 5 groups rather than 4 groups because I added in the kind of in-between worker. But you have the standard population where you have the people that are really loath to part with any money over what they absolutely have to.
Mm-hmm.
They think that there should be absolutely no tipping. And then you have the vast majority of people that are going, let's not go crazy with it. And don't try to hide a tip in the bill already. That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. See, the other thing that we have up here is something that you guys are now experiencing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with the overall wage increase. Like, Sora's not wrong. Like, minimum wage up here, like, yeah, you're getting 15 to 16 bucks starting off. You know, so if you're at a Starbucks and you're buying a cookie, yeah, you're not getting more than like a 50 cent to $1 tip. Like, you know, like I know that sounds harsh, but like a cookie at Starbucks is like $3.
Like I said, if you're just
So-
passing me my food effectively, I'm not really tipping you. If
So Jen,
it's
it's
a
just, for people, just so you're aware, it's $17.40 starting June 1st.
Yeah.
That's
if
minimum wage.
I
Yeah,
sit
so-
down at a restaurant,
is-
though,
Unskilled labor.
if I sit down at a restaurant, though, and you're coming by, seeing if I need a refill on my drink, you're bussing the table, you're bringing out the food, you're making sure that everything was cooked appropriately, you're doing a good job as a server,
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely, I tip. And the better the job as a server, the better the tip. Like I said, I always tip because if you leave no tip, it's really easy for the server to go, well, that jackass, because there's a lot of people that are jackasses and they go, oh, I'm morally against tipping. No, you aren't. You're economically against tipping. You don't like parting with money. It's not a moral argument because it's not, you not tipping is not helping the people that you're saying need to be paid more. In fact, it's directly hurting the people that you're saying need to be paid more. That isn't you being morally against tipping. Like I said, that's you being a jackass. Again,
Oh, I was gonna say, I would just hope that the servers are doing their job well enough to earn said tips.
yep, and
Yeah.
that's why I said I always tip, because if I leave no tip, it's easy to write me off as a jackass. If I leave a insultingly low tip, then to my mind, if I was in that situation,
Dude,
I'd
it's
be
a store.
going, oh, that's them letting me know they
Yeah.
would have tipped more.
It's okay when, and again, it's different tiers in terms of like servers, right? So if you're going to like a high-end restaurant where it's not just a server attending to you, you got 2 or 3 different people working your table, you know, the server is going to be super friendly, but at that same end, you're also going to be probably wearing a suit and tie type of thing. So you're going to be spending money either way.
Or you're going to be at a really nice Hispanic restaurant. I don't know what it is about Hispanic restaurants.
Well,
But
those
if you're
two.
at a good Hispanic restaurant, it always seems like there's a fucking team assigned to every goddamn table, because there'll be like 15 people coming over to you at different points going, oh, running low on lemonade. Let me get another
Yeah,
one.
there's
Oh, you're
a dude straight for drinks, straight for,
Yeah.
oh, are you done with this? I'll take this. Go ahead.
Yep. So they
No.
always get tipped really fucking well when I find a good place like that.
And we can even bring up, like, you got to tip each and every individual one. Write a note. This is for Jorge, who did the fucking water. This is for,
Jorge did an amazing job keeping my drink full.
yeah, he was always there.
I agree with Sora. I think that's part of the reason why I'm a lot more reluctant to tip. I'm still okay with tipping. I agree with you on like good service, it's just a lot of our guys, and I'm going to be honest, I'm going to blame it on them being liberal because it's the only thing I got. It is the entitlement. Like, you'll get shit service and then they act like they're entitled to a thank you for it. Like, the last time I went out, like, my dad spent a pretty decent amount on a family dinner, and my steak was supposed to be rare, and I'm like, did you like cook mine first and then leave it there? Because it was cold, it was chewy. I was like, I know you cooked it, but you know, and they did that to like all of us. Like every dish, I'm looking at it and I'm like, my cousin worked in a restaurant, so like two of us are looking at it going, well, it wasn't the worst meal, but for what we paid for it, like, you know.
Yeah, there's, like I said, the different tiers of service, and the better the service, the better the tip, because I want to reward people for doing a good job. Yeah. And that's the whole idea behind tipping. If you're a good server, you get good tips. If you're a good server and you aren't getting good tips, you're working in a shithole of a place, most likely.
Yeah.
Oh, you saved me from a bomb. Thank you. Yes, but I agree. It is. But see, that's the thing. A lot of people just they can't work around the whole, variable spectrum. They gotta. It's either I don't pay or I'm just gonna, I gotta pay, and that's why. And people in chat don't like the automatic tip. Well, the reason that's there is because there's a lot of people who, even though they got good service, didn't tip.
Yep. Yeah, there are people who are like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what you got paid.
This is where I agree. If the places will do that. Oh, for parties of 6 or more or 8 or more, automatically adds like 18%. That's usually what.
Oh yeah, if you have a huge fucking group,
different.
I can understand.
Yeah, so for me, I agree that it is like tipping for a large group like that is something that is needed for exactly that reason. Like Adam said, that you're going to have people who are not going to tip purely because they don't want to.
Yeah.
So that's fine. I think that's fair, because when you're dealing with a large group, that's a lot of mess. That's a lot of stress on people. I think that is different versus just like a table of 4 where everyone's doing an individual check or something like that.
And keep in mind, this is purely sit down restaurants where you have somebody taking an order, going to a kitchen, and then bringing it back to you. This is not fast food where you're ordering at the counter and you're waiting for the food to come there. So if that's the case, I don't see a reason to tip, because that is a little bit more automated for what it is, as opposed to the tip of, dude, the person is at least carrying your food on a plate on their hands,
and they're coming by and making sure that you're good on your drinks.
Yeah, drinks. You can at least toss them a couple of bucks. Like, geez.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, if it's fast food, then I'm not tipping. There's one exception to my I'm not tipping for fast food, and that's if I'm standing behind someone in the line, and they're just being an absolute cunt and a half.
Oh, maybe I might add a tip if it's a really weird order.
If it's a really weird order, or like I said, if I'm watching them just get reamed out for no fucking reason because the person in front of me decided to be a jackass, then I'll probably go, okay, here's 10%. I normally don't tip, but fucking sorry that's a human.
Sorry that dude didn't get his orange chicken right away.
No, sorry that he's identified as a human. And that's where I come down when it comes to it. Like I said, the people that I can get why really shit servers don't like tipping. I can get why really good servers love tipping. Because some of the people that are the most against getting rid of tipping are the servers at good restaurants that are really fucking good servers.
Mhm.
They're going, no, fuck that. What do you mean get rid of tipping? No, I make like this ridiculous amount a week because of tips. These motherfuckers pay me money.
Dude,
What do you mean get rid of tipping? Fuck you.
I'm not gonna lie. When I was, I mean, again, this is back a lot of years, when I was working at a restaurant, and I was making a lot of good monies on good nights, just because I could work a table,
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's and because of that, they gave me more money. So I'm not gonna lie, it is, you could make good money, but you have to work at it. And I agree that you're gonna run across those the servers who are they're
If the only time that I see you is when you first take my order, which takes a while, and then you bring a drink, then you disappear until food, and then you disappear until it's been like an hour, and you think that I'm probably done eating, and then you come by and you ask for a bill. Yeah, you aren't getting a good tip.
yeah, no. Or she fucking, you tell her no onions and she adds onions, and she brings it back and she's like, no, it was a correct order. And I'm like, no, it wasn't a correct order.
Yep. Yeah. If you're fucking up my order, your tip goes down, unless you're really fucking nice. Also, I'm not gonna lie, if you're really attractive, that automatically adds a tip.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
I'm fucking honest about
There
it.
it is.
The truth comes.
You guys all know that's true.
Listen, I don't care if she gave me a glass of milk when I
If
asked for
your
lemonade.
server is extremely cute,
If she's got some big
and
old,
they do even a half decent job, you know they get more than they would otherwise.
no, they do. They do. I won't. Again, when I was working at a restaurant, my competition was some Bulgarian chick.
Oh, yeah.
Sadly enough.
Like I said, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna try to lie. I'm just gonna fucking say it.
I know.
There is absolutely a bonus for being attractive.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone's surprised by there being a bonus for being attractive. That's fairly fucking standard.
Well, and she had the added bonus of having a accent.
Mm-hmm.
That just sucked. She didn't have to do shit. She just had to go in there and do just a regular, yeah, what do you want? What can I get you? But it's in this weird Bulgarian accent. And I had to go there and fucking do a song and dance, tell jokes, fucking.
Do you know how much it took him to rent a mariachi band?
Do you know?
Just to
Do it all
comprehend.
on it was all in one. I had to wear it on my backpack, squeeze my legs, and do a harmonica, and it was horrible. And all she had to
Every
do,
table he waited was an entire song and dance.
even I had to serenade the 2-person seater, and all she had to do was open up one button and show a little bit of more cleavage. And so, this is fucking.
Yep.
It was horrible. That fucking IHOP.
The only way that you could have made that funnier is if you had said Waffle House.
Nah, there'd be fighting involved. Here we were just trying to seduce the fine people of where we were at. Yeah. Surfing. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, it's a simple thing that, like I said, the better the service, the better the team. It's easy. Don't be a dick. Don't be the person that says, well, I'm morally against tipping. No, you aren't. You're trying to absolve yourself of being an asshole. It doesn't work. You're still an asshole. And no one else is thinking, oh, look at them. They're so morally good. Now they're all thinking, you're a jackass. Why did I invite you to dinner?
You.
Last time.
Yeah. And fuck any place that I find out takes tips that are left. If I find out a place doesn't allow tipping, and then they take tips left for the servers and they add them to the till, fuck that.
There's places that do that?
Oh, yeah.
Do they, like, mark if they do that?
No.
Ugh. See, now I kind of feel like that's something I should, as soon as I sit down, here's the menu. Hey, do they let you keep the tips, or is it going into a till?
And the other people that really piss me off are, I can understand when it's pooled tips for if that server has a particular busser and barman that they work as a trio. So...
Oh, yeah, like a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. If it's the Mexican restaurant setup where there's like 3 to 6 people that are assigned to fucking every table, I can understand pooling tips for that. But if it's, no, we pool tips for everyone in the restaurant.
Okay, at that point, dude, if there's...
At that point, that's when you shake the hand of your server with the cash in it. And you say, keep it for yourself.
Not at all. That's when you look at the person you're going to that restaurant and seriously contemplate, is it worth going to this restaurant where I have to feed an army to feed my army? That's ridiculous. I just wanted to take this lady on a date, and now I've got to pay Jorge's family. Sorry, Jorge. I got to think of a different name.
Through college.
Yeah. He's like, look, he just started a family. He's trying to build a home. And it's like, oh, well, I just wanted to take this lady on the first date. I don't even know if it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah, like I said, if I hate the places that pool tips, because the entire point of giving a good tip is to reward a good server. If you're pooling tips for everyone in-house, that means that it's no longer a reward for good service. You're paying everyone, whether they were a good server or not, the exact same amount, which gets rid of the fucking point.
Or at least their lead or their role. I mean, you pay a ticket to go see a play, and you're expecting to see the lead actor. Sure, the stagehand's going to get paid, but not as much as the lead actor.
Yeah, and again, I completely understand when you have a team that kind of work together. So you have a bus boy, and every server that bus boy busses the tables of gets a cut of their tips. Makes perfect sense. That absolutely no problem with that, because the bus boy is doing his job and he's helping the servers do their jobs. Makes perfect sense. Those waiters all have a barman or a couple different barmen that they go to, so they pay a cut of the tip out to them. Sure, that makes sense. But if it's pooled entirely, I'm going, what the fuck's the point of that?
Yeah, that's crazy. And what's also crazy is how we got off on this restaurant tangent. We go from Palestinian protests to who the fuck is going to tip this waiter?
Well, I don't actually think it's a bad topic to shift to, because most of those college kids, that's probably, if they're lucky, where else are they going to work?
Though I do have tips. Another thing that I wanted to address, which is the name, or the reason for the name of tonight's stream, the deceiving data. The number of people that just don't know how to deal with data at fucking all is infuriating. Because people will constantly bring up really shit data. The shit data that I saw recently was someone trying to say that SpaceX, you can like SpaceX, you can dislike SpaceX, but you should be honest when you're talking about SpaceX or when you're talking about fucking anything. And they were trying to say that SpaceX was so much more dangerous than working at anywhere else. So for their data, it was a report from Reuters that referenced another report also from Reuters, where the other report from Reuters said that in the past 9 years, there have been 600 accidents and 1 fatality. 600 sounds like a fairly large number, right? 600 accidents?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like, oh, that's probably really bad.
Does that include, like, everything from minor to major?
It includes everything from minor to major. And it is 600 accidents that had a workplace injury of some degree, which again, minor to major. Do you guys want to hear what that actually works out to? What rate per 100,000 employees that is?
Yes, sure.
So if you have a 600 accidents per year, or 600 accidents, not per year, 600 accidents in a 9-year window, that equates to an injury rate of 0.04 per 100,000 employees.
Oh, okay. Suddenly the number is not so shocking.
Yeah, it's also about a tenth of the normal industrial accident rate. The fatality rate of 1 person dying in that 9 years. Do you guys want to hear what that number is when you work it out per 100,000 employees per year?
0.0001 or something small.
You have overestimated that number.
Oh, okay.
It is 7.0 times 10 to the negative 5th.
Oh my god. Okay.
So it is.
So good track record, in other words.
Yeah,
Well
it is 0.00007. That's what that number is.
Jeez, that's a number.
It is a very small number, which is, again, a good deal smaller than industry average. This person was also saying that NASA was safer when NASA was running the space shuttle. So I worked out a 9-year window, the last 9-year window, because you'd figure as time went on, things would get safer with NASA, right? Especially since they had been running the same space shuttle since the last moon shoot that they had done. So in a 9-year window, NASA had launched 27 space shuttle launches. In the same 9-year window that I was just talking about with those ridiculously small numbers, SpaceX has done 277 launches. With just the fatalities from flight. So just the launch fatalities, not including the production fatalities, which Northrop Grumman was one of their main facilities, or one of their main industrial supporters during this time period. Northrop Grumman had a fatality rate much higher and had an injury rate much higher than the 2 that I listed. But just NASA, just its launch-related fatalities, so not including its laboratory fatalities, of which there were.
Are you talking about the shuttle that exploded?
There was 1 shuttle in this time frame, so it was 7 people, and that meant that NASA's death rate in that 9-year window was 38 times higher than SpaceX. And again, that was just the launch fatalities, not including laboratory fatalities, not including industrial fatalities, not including recovery fatalities, of which those would all add in if you're doing a full estimation. Just the launch-based fatalities, 38 times higher than SpaceX's annualized fatality rate. People don't know how to deal with numbers. And there's another article that they had originally linked to. Like I said, the data of the total number of injuries and deaths over that 9-year window was in the article that they linked had referenced. The article that they linked had referenced looked at a specific subsection of SpaceX. So as a department within SpaceX, so it was a massively reduced sample size. And it was one of the sections that would naturally have one of the higher rates of fatality. And they went, well, this one has a fatality rate of greater than the average for the industry. By the way, the industry that they looked at was not the same industry that that particular department was a part of. It was aerospace rather than salvage and recovery.
Okay.
The particular section that they looked at was salvage and recovery. So they would go out after a launch, and if anything had been tossed during the launch, they would go out, find where it had been tossed, recover it. They're dealing with large machinery. They have a much smaller pool of people working there. Everything that was done in that analysis ended up skewing the data ridiculously. And they were using that data going, see, this is more dangerous. Because again, people don't seem to know how to read data. They don't seem to know how to look at data and go, oh, this is an issue. The way that this is entirely set up from the very basics of it is wrong. That's a skill that people need to develop. People need to develop the ability to read data, to figure out why the data is set up the way that it is, and to be able to tell if there's an issue with cooking the books in the data.
Mm-hmm.
And it's infuriating that it seems like there's no effort into making it so that people are more fluent in data. If anything, there seems to be a concerted effort to make sure that people remain baffled by how numbers work and how data is done. Because it's just so much easier if you completely ignore that and you just bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
If you can give people horrendous data and have them just nod their head along and go, yep, those sound like numbers, it's much more convenient than actually having people be able to go, hold on a second. Why did you do this data analysis rather than this data analysis? You do know that the data analysis that you're currently doing is horrendous, right?
I don't like it. It really does feel like it's almost
Done on purpose.
exactly.
Yeah.
It is. You see it a lot when they do it to the oil companies, Sora. You really see it a lot when they do it to the oil companies. Like, trust me, I've never been an oil connoisseur in that regard. Like, I support my province and that shit, but I'm not an engineer.
You mean you can't take a sip of it and figure out exactly where it's from?
It's just you see their data, and then you see what the companies are saying, and then you exchange it through a third party, and you realize that all sides are. You realize that there's something not right.
Mm-hmm. And again, it's something that is infuriating because it would be numbers when it comes to working out stats like that. They aren't difficult. They aren't something that you should be intimidated by. You shouldn't be looking at data about the number of incidents per 100,000 employees and be baffled by what these numbers mean. You should be able to work through them, and you should be able to work through them enough that you can confirm them with their own data. Because the number of times that I've seen a paper that says, hey, I've proven XYZ, here's my data, and I'll do the same exact analysis on their data, and I'll make sure that I work it out proper, and I'll make sure that I didn't fuck up anything, and my numbers will come out different than what their results say their numbers were.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can figure out what they did in order to get their results. One of the worst examples of this is you guys all remember the FBI study of who's the greatest threat to America when it comes to terrorism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys remember what that article's? Okay, so a while ago, this came out during the Obama administration, was the first run of it, Adam. There was a analysis by the FBI looking into what groups were the greatest threat to the U.S. as far as terrorism.
Wait,
So
is that when they started marking the I don't want to say sovereign citizens because I don't think that's technically what they were looking at, but like the inward type people?
it's when they came out and they said that the greatest threat to America as far as terrorism were right-wing identitarians.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So when you look at their actual data set that they used for that paper, their data set said that over 1/3 of all terroristic activity within the time frame that they looked at, and they had been very careful about picking their time frame because their time frame wasn't like an even 5 or 10 years. Their time frame was specifically, if I remember correctly, like 6 years. It was a little bit more. It was 8 years. They had looked at an 8-year window. This was about 5 years into Obama that they did this study. So what event was just slightly before 8 years back of when they did that study? I'll give you a slight hint. The largest terrorist act in the United States.
9/11.
Waco.
Yep.
Oh.
It had been their window, which was 8 or 9 years, just excluded 9/11.
Yep.
So
they've been deleting that for ages, Sanguine. Like I brought that up last week for a reason. Like I at first I thought I was paranoid, and yes, the kids do know about it, but at the same time, it's like you're talking about a Ghostbuster movie as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, they had purposefully bracketed their study in a time frame that would exclude 9/11. Then when you looked at the data, it still said that over a third of all terroristic activity that was committed within the United States was committed by Islamic terrorist groups. But this paper said that the group that was most likely to commit terroristic attacks in the United States was right-wing identitarians, right?
Well, I think that would rebel against the government, but yeah, no, they broke it up into right after, and that was kind of the whole point of 9/11 was a big shock that would, okay, it's this one focal point of, oh my God, terrorist attacks.
Yep.
And once you started wiggling around, like, then you start asking questions, you got shot down. So it became a focal point. Don't ask questions. And then after that, it was the war. And then nobody questions, hey, where were the weapons of mass destruction? Why did we invade Iraq when people were telling us it was in Afghanistan? And then we go in Afghanistan and for some reason, we're just occupying the place for 10 years. Like and this is why I mentioned earlier the goldfish memory. It's how are we still questioning whether or not the people who are on Capitol Hill out in DC, how they're not working not for us, the people, they're working for obviously somebody else. So what in the like, it's right there in front of you.
I mean, you would think the college students would be enough of a wake-up call because it's not one college. It is all of them.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it all sprung up right away.
Like those tents, like those cookie-cutter tents everywhere. Like we have them, you have them, Europe has them.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a break.
Those
Those
are
aren't cheap.
signs.
Those aren't cheap.
Even worse when talking about everything that had been done in the data. So they had said that over 1/3 was Islamic terrorism. So when you added up every group that was what most people would consider a right-wing group and or a identitarian group. So identitarian, various types of racists. Shit like war. Are you guys familiar with what war is?
Which is what? I'm sorry?
War. It's a hate group.
Oh.
It's the hate group that is the white Aryan. Is it white Aryan resistance? Or let me quickly double check. It's
as
the
opposed
neo-Nazi
to
group.
the other race of Aryans.
Yeah, it's a kind of redundant name for a group. It is the White
It's
Aryan
like-
Resistance. I was right.
Yeah.
White Aryan Resistance is the name of the group. They are made up of a shit ton of former KKK members that decided to become neo-Nazis.
Great.
So when you include groups like that in with the right-wing groups that were in the list, do you guys think that they came out to more or less than the over 1/3?
Less.
Right. So then I did the numbers again, including every Christian identity group. Thinking, oh, they probably worked in religious terrorism as well into the right-wing terroristic attacks. So when I figured out that, so it was all the right-wing groups, all the identitarian groups, and all the Christian extremist groups. Do you think it was more or less than that over 1/3?
Less.
Yes. Do you know what group they included in the numbers in order to get it to be more than that 1/3?
I don't know why I'm throwing this out as a random troll, but I'm going to throw in the West Baptist Church.
No, that would have already been included when I included religious
Okay.
groups.
Yeah, I would say that'd be a good example of the Christian extremist type people.
Yep. But the group that was added in to the data in order to get it to exceed the over 1/3 was the over 1/3. It was added into the right-wing identitarian group. They added in Islamic terror as part of that group in order to get that group to equal more than over 1/3. So at that point, it equaled all totaled up about 2/3. It was a little bit less than 2/3.
Damn. So
Actually, no, it was a little bit more than 2/3. Not a little bit less. It was a little bit more than 2/3 when you added those two groups in. Because there's almost a third was if you summed up every socialist, communist, and far left-wing group was about a third. So it was just over 2/3 when you did all the Islamic terrorists and all the right-wing groups, all the religious groups. Yeah, when you added everything together, except for the communists and the socialists, that was the majority of terrorist activity. Yeah, you added in the largest single group. The largest single group was over 1/3. And when I say over 1/3, I don't mean barely over 1/3. It was over 1/3. It was closer to 2/3 than it was to 1/3 in the data by itself. That was how they cooked the books in that data.
It just makes sense too. Like, even though it sounds weird, most of the high profile groups that I think of end up being communist. Like, I know that's anecdotal, but like, yeah, it's like, yeah. Even the religious ones end up having a hell of a lot of communism to them. It's funny, but not really.
Yeah, there's a shit ton of socialist and communist terrorist groups. And there have been for decades. I mean, for fuck's sake, the Weather Underground.
It's almost like that's how they run a little bit. It's almost like it's a cult thing. Like, no offense to religion. Like, I don't like necessarily calling them a cult, but sometimes they have things that are in common.
Just a quick interrupt. I don't know if this was right before because I had to step away, but Spittle says that the Watchmen were a major issue before 9/11. They were trained in Iran and Iraq, but were American.
Yep.
I don't know that group.
Wait, the Watchmen, like the comic book?
Not like the comic book. They were a...
Were they like a militia group, like homegrown?
Yeah,
quickly double checking if I remember correctly, they were effectively a terrorist splinter, but I can't remember what their political ideology was.
Oh shit, we are all about to get raided. I hope you are ready.
Alrighty. Frosted's group?
Yeah, I don't know, because we just started talking about some Watchmen group. What are they capable of? 9/11, apparently. We are fucked.
Because there's a couple different groups. There's the Wolverine Watchmen, which they were the ones that were like 2/3 FBI and FBI informants. They were the ones that supposedly were going to capture Whitmer.
Really? Oh, yeah, that recent thing?
Yeah, they were the Wolverine Watchmen. But there was another group before that I'm trying to remember what their ideology was.
I'm also going to say something a little bit crazy. It is a random outright theory.
Hold on,
But-
hold on, Jen. Before you say something crazy,
Oh, it is the same group. It is the Wolverine Watchmen. They just got absolutely inundated with feds after the 90s.
oh,
Yeah, they were.
that's all I needed. Jen, go ahead.
Well, it's kind of lame sauce, but as much as I got to this theory of thinking that the college teachers really are teaching the students with like TV and shit, the more I started thinking about that 9/11 shit, and the more I was like, you know what? I bet you they're not even going to TV. I bet you they're just directing them to like Hasanabi's channel, because their response to 9/11 sounds like the kind of shit he said. It sounds entirely like the kind of shit he said.
Mm-hmm.
Like propaganda.
No, when he did a cover of 9/11, he went on about how he thought not enough people died.
Yep.
Oh my
Whoa,
God.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you don't remember that? It was big internet news when Hassan went on a tirade about how
Oh,
Americans
him.
are.
Yes,
Yep.
sorry, I missed the name.
Yeah,
Yeah, that-
Hassan said that.
Yeah, Hassan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was back ages
he
ago.
said
That
it,
was
but it was quickly. Obviously, did not do much damage.
yeah,
Was-
because it was
How long ago was this?
a couple
Last-
years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say
It was.
Yeah,
Do you remember when he had to go on the Young Turks and apologize?
Yep. It's
Because that was when that was, and he didn't really apologize. It was more Shank and several other people from the Young Turks were going, "Are you fucking just say sorry?" Well, it might be that my first language wasn't English. Dumbass, just say sorry. Well, it might be that I was brought up in this. Just say sorry. Well, it might be that it was because of, and he just refused to apologize. He just kept on trying to come up with other reasons why it was okay for him to say what he said.
well, it's just when you see him in his streams, he goes into these tirades like that, and I don't doubt that he's done days where that's what he did, was talk trash about things like 9/11 to justify his own behavior, because that's what he does. That's the kind of person he is to be like, oh well, I'm not in the wrong, it's my, like, if he's not even willing to apologize for being stupid, I could see him doubling down for an hour and pulling an Ethan Klein, and we don't care because it's Hassan, because he's an idiot. But the kids watching him are retarded. They're retarded. So I could see them believing that shit.
they just strung along.
Sorry.
Like the Pied Piper.
Like, it's just like you've seen interviews with like more than just one. It's not just one chick with stupid glasses who sounds like they're stupid. Like the teachers sound dumb.
With Hassan, I think I've seen one video of him speaking. I think he was debating somebody, and yeah, I wasn't at all impressed. And so in my memory banks, he's registered as pretty much a rich guy who is out of touch with the rest of the world. And so, pay
I
no
think
attention.
you might be overestimating him.
Well, I mean,
Intellectually, I mean.
well, no, I didn't say anything about his intellect. I mean,
Yeah, that was the overestimation.
yeah, there's plenty of rich men who are out of touch, and I think he's just one of them. And why give two shits about what he has to say? But yeah, I have been seeing his name coming up, so
It's one of those things where, like, I agree with you. I don't give his opinion much thought because I don't have high opinions of his opinions. But the reality is he does have a large following.
yeah,
And I could see a lot of his following being the very same college teachers teaching these kids, because they all, have the same mentality of communism. And they also have this same mentality of we hate America, we hate the Western world.
Okay, see, I'm okay. I see your linkage to JenTMaxi.
Yeah, he is a big communist tanky motherfucker. It's annoying as well.
And even I think Jen, did you mention that there were professors arrested, right?
I don't know that they were arrested, but you can see them on the screen. Like you can see that they're teachers. Like I think one of them was arrested. I think it was. I am pulling a name out of my head because I can't remember, but I think it was Jessica Lee or something like that. But they did actually catch a full-on professor. But when you're looking at these people, for some reason they think the stupid medical mask means that you can't tell what they look like. And I'm sorry, but a mask can't hide old. It doesn't hide old. And I see old people amongst those kids. So when you say things like, yeah, they brought in people, yeah, the teachers did.
Well, yeah. Okay.
I also still just love.
There was a professor who was being filmed, and the police officer was pulling down her mask, and she kept, no, don't show my face. And you're right. We have AI that could deep fake a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of random shit.
That's why I started calling them Kakashi ripoffs, because Kakashi was a character in Naruto that was like, you can't tell what my face looks like, even though I'm wearing a spandex mask. And I was like, it's spandex. Yes, I can. All I have to do is draw the structure of your face.
Hold on. Is Naruto the one that has like a super long episode count, like over 1,000 or something?
No, that's One Piece.
Oh.
No, Naruto's the ninja one.
Oh, shit. Well, you know what? I guess I gotta revoke my weeb card.
Yeah?
Shit.
Confusing Naruto and One Piece.
Dude, well, I was actually, I was kind of banking on running on that.
Both are too long. I'll be fair with you. Both are too long.
Yeah. Well, hey, I like Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball's fucking
long as shit.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's always the plague with a lot of anime is instead of just waiting patiently, they just give us a lot of fillers. So you end up with like the odd season where you're like,
you can say that with Bleach, absolutely. You can say that with Naruto, absolutely. You can't really say that with One Piece.
No, One Piece is its own beast.
Yeah, because One Piece has something like 2% filler.
Maybe the joke is that the main character is based off a dude who ate a gummy fruit, and so it just stretches on forever.
But yeah, I want to say it's 2%. I could be wrong. It might be more than 2%, but I want to say it was 2% filler in One Piece. The rest of it is all entirely part of the plot.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to remember which one it is 1%. And then it's Jujutsu Kaisen, I want to say, is currently 0% filler.
Okay.
Ooh.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. It's also a shit ton of the characters that you like will die suddenly, but it's 0% filler.
I got a question. This is coming offshoot from a workmate. Apparently his girlfriend wants to get him into anime. He doesn't want to get into anime. So he was like, what series do I jump into? And I was sitting there thinking, like, I don't know. If you really have no interest in it, there's nothing you can really jump into.
What type of shows and what type of genres does he like in non-anime?
I don't think he has any interest.
The man is completely empty. He is the most boring individual on Earth.
It is odd. It is odd indeed.
See, then that's kind of like there's nothing really she or he can do. It's
Yeah,
just watch an anime with me for 2 hours and put up with it.
Well, hold
man's
on,
just
hold
devoid
on.
of personality. I'm not sure what we can do with that.
Well, hold on. Substitute the anime with like horror movies.
Well, that's
Which
just
again goes to what type of other movies do they like? Because depending on what your other interests are, that kind of says what sort of horror movie should be recommended to you. If you're into sci-fi, there's sci-fi horror movies. If you're into fantasy, there's fantasy horror movies. If you're into mysteries, there's mystery horror movies. So you can recommend based on what the person's interests are. Whereas if the person has no interests, they're just a blank character profile, you can't really give them a recommendation on what they'll enjoy because, well, you don't know if they enjoy anything.
It was one of the nice things about Cowboy Bebop before Netflix kind of fucked that one up the rear. Was that if you were a cowboy fan or a space person, like you like the Star Wars stuff, that one was actually perfect because it was such a nice blend of the two, and it's so well done. Like that's kind of why I ignore the Netflix, because there's just some things that are too hard to replicate, and if the people involved hate the subject, they shouldn't be involved.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you really like noir movies and you're also a big fan of sci-fi, then Big O is hands down an easy fucking recommend. Because Big O is functionally a noir giant robot anime.
So the idea becomes find I guess an area where you can expand from and go from there, because yeah, dude, especially with the Cowboy Bebop, it's like, yeah, I just want to see some bounty hunters collecting their bounty.
Yep.
It just so happens to be in space, and with
it's
also
kind of that same itch that gets scratched by things like Firefly. If you like that Western but sci-fi, and you like some kind of strange but charming weirdness to it when it comes to its music all being that kind of jazzy swing feel, but then the stories are effectively it's a bounty hunting Western. Then you take in the fact that it's a bounty hunting Western that is in space, and also the main character's fucking damn near gun kata. It's different aspects that are blended together. So, like I said, it's what do you like? Because what you like will tell us where to start with recommending something new to you. If you like Westerns, then there's a shit ton of Western anime. If you like sci-fi, then you can do Western anime that are sci-fis as well. So you do a Cowboy Bebop, like I said, or you do Trigun. Trigun's another one that is functionally a Western in space.
Another thing I would do too is sometimes I cheat a little bit, because a lot of people don't know how many of our cartoons were exchanges between us and Japan and us and Korea.
Yep.
So I'll ask something simple like, well, did you grow up liking Ninja Turtles or like Transformers or something? Because guaranteed I can find you an anime based off of it or pretty close to it, or, with a more adult context, especially if you go to the 80s. A lot of people don't
Outlaw Star.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Because
that's a classic and it's amazing.
Well, a lot of the 80s styles of dyeing art, like they don't really do that style anymore. It's all kind of upgraded to what it's doing right now. So a lot of people kind of like the older cartoon style.
Yep.
For that reason, because it gives you that feeling of, yeah, I feel like I'm watching the old cartoons that I used to enjoy. So it's not as big of a pull with people who are like, well, it's kind of cartoony. Yes, but it's adult, it's adult content with good drawings that you kind of remember.
Yeah, if you really liked old school, like 80s action cartoons, Fist of the North Star.
Exactly. Yeah.
80s cheese in the same vein of like a fucking Thundercats and shit like that. Only it's more adult, more violent, so it gives that bit of, ooh, this is kind of weird. I like it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that can be done with what your interests are. Like I said, if you like cyberpunk stories, then hands down, one of the best cyberpunk stories from fucking anything is Ghost in the Shell.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost in the Shell is amazing. It is weird as shit, but it's amazing. And if you want something that is just really goddamn weird, oh, I can hook you up with really goddamn weird shit. Fully Cooley. You want a comedy that you will not understand at fucking all?
Yeah.
Fully Cooley.
Yeah, I never really could get into that one because I was like, I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah.
But the art was cool. The art was
surreal as all hell.
Hold on, what is Fully Cooley?
Fully Cooley is one of the strangest anime that has ever been drawn and voice acted. It is about a young boy coming of age who he ends up falling for someone who's older than he should be looking at. They go on a weird adventure that is all functionally meant to be an exploration of teen horniness, but it doesn't make sense in the most glorious of fashions. So, throughout the entire fucking story, you're going, okay, so she hit this boy in the head with a guitar. Yes. He's not dead. Yes. He has a massive horn sticking out of his head now because of this shit, and things are coming out of that. What the fuck is going on? Okay, so now there's an awesome fight
is
scene.
a metaphor.
Yeah, like I said, it's legit. That wasn't a joke when I said parts of it are a metaphor for teen horniness. That wasn't me kidding. It is supposed to actually be a metaphor for teen horniness at some points, and the fact that a older woman has him pop this horn out of the top of his head is one of the aspects that's teen horniness. But there's different monsters that pop out of his head each time that she hits him in the head and causes one of these horns to pop up. And then he has to team up with her as well as a robot, which was one of the first things that popped out of his head. And together they're able to triumph, and he finds out that he's bigger and more important than he thought that he was going to ever be. And it's, like I said, this very fucking strange coming of age story that parts of it are about teens being horny little bastards, and parts of it are about, fuck it, giant robot hand that's a fucking pistolero from the Old West, but is about 3 times the size of Godzilla. Kill it by hitting it with guitars. So
course.
it's strange, but it's gloriously strange. It's that sort of strange that as you're watching it, you're going, I don't know why any of this is happening. I don't know what any of this means, except I'm pretty sure that means that he was horny. And it's awesome. I love it. It is the weirdest shit, especially since all the older men in the series are just kind of knowingly going along with everything, and they aren't helping out with anything. They're just kind of like, yeah, we're here to watch. By the way, Fully Cooley. What the fuck does Fully Cooley mean? Fully Cooley. What are you saying? Why are you saying this? Fully Cooley. Just stop! And it's just glorious weirdness that makes no sense. But it works so well because it makes no sense. And it is so interesting because you're just watching it going, what the fuck is this?
Japan be Japanning.
Yeah. And it's only like 4 episodes long. It is ridiculously short. And at the end, you have a fun time watching it. Also, there's definite growth from the kid who he starts off and he's a horny teenage boy that will do anything if someone shows any sort of interest in him, to suddenly having boundaries that he's going, yeah, this wasn't what was supposed to happen, and I need to actually be careful. I need to think through shit. I need to be ready to do shit. So it's a coming of age about horniness and monsters coming to be because of horniness. It is a strange, strange anime, but it's amazing. And the name is Fully Cooley, or FLCL. Let me quickly see how many episodes it is, because I remember it being ridiculously short.
Yeah, Cannibalistic said it was like 13.
Yeah, he's saying 13. It is 5 episodes.
Oof.
There are 5 episodes of Fully Cooley.
Oh, she doesn't love you. She's just using you.
Sorry.
Kid.
It's... Okay, so I saw it say 5 episodes one place, and then I just pulled it up here, and it's saying 6 episodes now. So it's 5 to 6 episodes.
It's just like the horniness. It's growing the longer we look at it.
Yeah. But it's one of those, what the fuck's going on? Why is this happening? But it's amazing. And you have a fun time watching it, despite you going, what the fuck am I watching? Why am I watching this? What is this supposed to be? The music is awesome. The action is extremely well done for the time. Whereas if you want something that's more, if you just really enjoy very sweet stories that are more true to life, there's anime that you watch that are that way, where it is just a very wholesome story. Then there's really good manga for that. There's a manga that I just read not terribly long ago because the premise was so fucking adorable. I had to read it because the premise behind the manga was it was a period piece set back during the feudal times in Japan, and it was a young samurai had just married a woman, and he's concerned because he's a very nice guy that really does care about his new bride, but he's worried that his bride doesn't like him because his bride always has a very strained smile on her face. So he thinks that she can't stand being around him. So he's trying to hold back what he feels for her because she seems uncomfortable. The entire time she's internally gushing about how much she loves him and how she's afraid that she's going to show too much and scare him off because she'll get a bit creepy. And the only time that they're able to show any sort of affection is when he's too drunk to remember anything. He'll state how much he likes her bluntly to her, and she'll just immediately melt into a puddle of happiness. It's adorable. It's sweet. It is charming. And it's one of those things that it's just a happy story.
It sounds really cute, like something that would have been nice in high school, but as an adult would get annoying really quickly. Communicate, damn it!
It was able to do it really fucking well, so it wasn't annoying, which was the nice thing.
Why is nobody communicating?
But also, it is, like I said, it's done extremely well, and the interactions between them and each other, as well as everyone else around them, is just way too fucking wholesome. Like, there's, at one point, the male lead has an older brother that just kind of takes the piss out of him every time that he's around and kind of beats him down. And when he's drunk, so he's not able to pay attention to what's happening, the brother starts ragging on him because he's being such an embarrassment and making his young wife take care of him, and the wife just glares at him and says, "Do anything to my husband. I'll fucking rip your head off," effectively. No. And the brother's like, "Whoa, what the? Whoa, settle down."
I don't know about the wife part. Shit.
Yeah, she immediately.
This is my level of fan servicey kind of stuff that I just I think it's made for a certain demographic, and it's like, oh yeah, I can see it being cute, but also it's just too irritating.
Like I said, I can get why it could be irritating, but it did it so well that it didn't come across as just fucking talk to each other. And it did end with them being able to communicate and being able to talk about how they feel. So it had the payoff, which made everything else even better, where it was like, hell yeah, this was a really just heartwarming story, and you could tell that they were communicating throughout the entire thing as well. It's just that they were also nervous because they were newlyweds, and they had just met effectively on their wedding night because that was the tradition. So there was all kinds of, okay, yeah, this works because of the world that they're telling this story. And for those who are interested, the name is My New Wife is Forcing Herself to Smile.
Lol. So if I were to... Oh, sorry.
No.
Well, I'll just do this one quick. But if I were to recommend one for Sora, I think it was Spittled Buggy, or maybe it was Cannibalistic. I can't remember. But they mentioned fruit baskets. Have you seen it? Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was so cute. Like, it did have a decent story. It does get dark because it is very much like Japanese have very private families. You could actually see something like that happening. Maybe not the curse part, but yeah, it was such a good story.
And Spittle, because you seem to have trouble with the finding it cute, if you want a hornier anime, there's all kinds of hornier animes. Harem animes exist. Tenchi Muyo, that's a classic harem anime. It is pervy as hell. It's also fantastic. I love Tenchi Muyo. It's a part of my childhood. It was just really good storytelling. and it did have fan service out the ass, which was earned throughout most of it. Then you also have more action-based ones. Of course, everyone knows Dragon Ball, but there's Rurouni Kenshin. That's a fairly classic one. That's really good. You have... I'm trying to remember. There's one that is... I want to say it's just called Musashi. And it is taking elements of Miyamoto Musashi's life, and it is making them extremely anime, where it's now there's demons and shit like that that are plaguing the world as elements of his life are playing out, and he's having to deal with this job in order to see what's going on in this area. And he's given a cursed artifact, so it's fun, action, adventure anime. There's a bunch of different ones that, like I said, it depends on what you're interested in, what you find fun, what you find interesting. Another really weird one that, if you just like weirdness, the Paranoia Complex.
The which complex, sorry?
The Paranoia Complex.
Paranoia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me quickly double check. I want to say it's the Paranoia Complex is the name of it. Yes, it is the Paranoia Complex, and making sure that... Oh, Paranoia Agent. Sorry, the anime is called the Paranoia Agent. And it is a very, very strange anime that is rather violent. It's very intense. It feels very, very uncomfortable at times due to how well they build up the tension, because the plot is that there's someone going around killing people. And it's the first time that you see them, it's this young boy skating around on inline skates with a bent up metal bat. And then people start showing up dead. And you keep seeing snippets of what happens. The attacker's dubbed Little Slugger. And it's just assault after assault after assault. Some people show up dead. Detectives are trying to figure out who's behind it, what's going on. And as it goes, everything just gets weirder and more wrong and more uncomfortable. But it's uncomfortable in that everything is getting so tense. You're going, something has to give. Something has to happen in order to release the pressure. And it just goes a little bit more, a little bit more, and then a little bit more, until finally you find out more about the story and it starts to come together and you start understanding it. But it's a slow burn, strange, intense anime.
Well, that's one of the nice things about a lot of
Sounds very
Japanese.
interesting, actually.
Well, they have a lot of good storytelling anyway. Like if you go into anything mysterious with the Japanese, like I'm going to throw this one out here. Say you're into gangsters and you get into Yakuza, you're going to get a hell of a lot more mystery in there than you'd think.
Yep.
Like they can go into like, Las Vegas style stuff, and they can go straight into we're showing you how we murder people. Italian style. They do that. Like they'll take you in and out.
Family Italian style.
Hey, but they do that. Like they'll pull you in with their mysteries, and it's the same with their horror. Like if you're into to scary ghost stories, like absolutely. The first one that comes to mind is always the lady with the face, but
the slit-faced woman.
Yeah, it works almost every time. Like they throw out one of their demons, and you're just like, okay, Japan, I get it.
Yep. And if you want another good anime, this one is on the happier note again.
Yeah.
It's a classic one. Great Teacher Onizuka.
Yeah.
So for those who haven't seen it, the premise behind it is a former biker gang leader
Okay.
really wants to become a fantastic teacher because he remembers when he was younger and all the shit that he was getting into and how he really just needed someone to be able to help him and to actually push him in the right direction. So he sets out to be that sort of teacher, but is also a bit scummy because he was a former biker gang leader and he's a bit perverted. So there's comedy there, but he's really trying to be a really good teacher that cares about his students and is there for his students.
I think maybe that's why I do end up liking a lot of their 70s to 80s style a little bit more, because they had more than just Yakuza. Like when they talk about just the school gangs, like they had full on groups. Like, you know, you could tell just by the hair sometimes that, yeah, they were maybe a part of a school gang and somebody's the honcho.
Yep. And another anime that's in a very similar vein as GTO, Great Teacher Onizuka, was Goku-sen, which Goku-sen is, rather than it being a former biker gang leader, it's the heiress of one of the larger Yakuza families.
Is this a live action show?
Let me check if Goku-sen...
Because that
became
reminds
a
me of
live
something.
action.
And then does she become a teacher of like classroom D or something? And those are the like
Yes.
the bad kids who get in trouble all the time. Oh my god! I don't know if there's an anime, but I've seen a live action of this. It's like 3 different series or seasons, I guess. It's fantastic. Oh, it is so cute. That is an absolutely adorable show, and she beats the heck out of people who underestimate her. Like literally, physically
Yep.
beats them up.
Yeah, and there is a live action of it as well. But originally it was a manga and then an anime. And
The live action is so cute. Like it's really a good time. I saw it by accident at some point. Found it online like 10 years ago or something like that. Very many years ago.
yeah,
Well worth trying to find. It's really cute. Maybe a little bit on the soppy side. So it's like really like sweet, but it's cute and they're short episodes.
Yep, and I looked it up, and the exact Yakuza family that she's a part of in that is she's the heiress of the Yamaguchi Gumi, which, for those who don't know, that was the biggest one. Not one of the... It's kind of like if you had a show about Al Capone's daughter being a school teacher. That's kind of the scale that you're talking. It's a very funny anime, and the way that it works out and the fact that throughout the entire thing, she's trying to make it so that her students don't realize it, but there's also these hulking enforcers that when someone starts giving her trouble, they just kind of poke their head in and like, should we kick their ass? What do you want us to do, boss? And she's like, no, shut up, get back, go away.
I'm gonna throw another one at you, Sanguine. I even was just sitting here dwelling on it, and no, I'm right with this conclusion. Ranma 1/2 was better than Inuyasha.
Ranma was
better.
fun.
It was better. Like I liked Inuyasha too, but I thought Ranma 1/2 ran circles in terms of humor, in terms of concept.
Inuyasha was definitely geared more towards girls.
Like, you know, and I got that, but like it was too long and it never really went anywhere.
Liking Inuyasha and you grow up to liking Sesshomaru.
That seems to be the trend, yes.
He was the only adult in the room. Like, he was evil as shit because he was a demon, but he was the only adult in the room.
He wasn't evil. I wouldn't call Sesshomaru evil.
Well, he was still a demon. Like if he, if he had enough reasons, he'd still kill you.
He was definitely anti-hero.
Yeah, he's a demon. He don't like humans. It
Oh,
doesn't make him
no.
evil.
And how many raisins do you need to have?
I am the chauffeur apologist. I will defend him.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought he was good looking, but like I understood who he was. Like, I wasn't like, hey, you're my buddy. Oh yeah, you're gonna murder me. Plus, I've always hated the people who made the sequel and decided that he should have a relationship with the little girl because I think they're perverts. I don't care. I think they're perverts. They did that to her, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't watch the follow-up series. I felt like I've grown up too much to go back. It's felt
Well-
too much like going backwards. I was like, it's too late. They should have done an update series many years ago.
I mean, I agree with that, but like I at least skimmed the story to see what it was about. And the minute they did that, I was like, whoever came up with that concept, you're a dirty pervert.
And Adam, going back to your question of what sort of anime should be recommended to that guy, does he like Rocky?
Rocky, like,
Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky
okay,
3.
Boxing, I guess.
yeah.
The underdog boxing story.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a fan of Rocky, to be honest.
Because it's one that a lot of guys tend to really like Rocky movies. And there's an anime that is very much Rocky-like, and it's Hajime no Ippo. It's about a young teen that is constantly getting in trouble, and then a coach finds him, starts training him, and he becomes
To be honest,
best boxer.
To be honest, I don't think it's the art form or the story itself. I think this person is just he doesn't watch these types. I don't think if it was a live action movie or series of this type of stuff, I don't think he'd watch it either way. So,
which is what I was saying, that if he has no real interest in those, or no, if he doesn't have normal things that he would go for, like he doesn't have, I'm really into mysteries, I'm really into action movies, then it's, there's no way of getting them into anime. But if they have something that interests them like that, if they're really into boxing and boxing movies, then like I said, Hajime no Ippo would be a amazing recommendation to get them into anime, because that's the type of show that they would absolutely just drink in. If they like crime shows, then
So,
go ahead.
Spittlebuggies at one point asked, what about shows with interesting art and storyline, but is super, super spicy, like Bible Black?
So what about hentai?
What is Bible Black? Is it
hentai.
hentai?
It is.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So, like, you mean spicy as in like it's got demons and shit, but it doesn't go all the way out to the sex part? Because they do have that too.
Yeah, or do you mean like
spicy
spicy
means
where
sex.
like you add a lot of wasabi into your soy mixture, and all of a sudden every bite of your sushi is, whoo, that's very spicy.
By the way, Spittlebuggy, hentai, add an A after the I. That's how you.
But the thing with hentai is it's always going to be one of those things where it depends on the person. Because like I've watched dark animes like say Berserk, and I don't necessarily consider that to be a hentai, but it has
Actually,
sex in it.
AI. Add an A before the I. My mistake.
But yeah, for like Berserk, it does have sex in it. So some people would still consider that to be porn.
Well, okay, that'd be the same thing where it's like you got a movie where it has a sex scene in it, and It's not really a porn. Like,
Some people are retarded.
well, Jen, I do not disagree.
And if you're getting off on the sex scene in Berserk, the main one that most people end up citing, there's something wrong with you. And
Well, it was like when they were freaking out about Goblin Slayer, and I'm like, if you're getting turned on by what the goblins are doing in that, you're really messed up.
yeah,
What were the goblins doing?
They-
goblins
No.
don't have women,
Sora.
but they sexually reproduce.
Hold on. Sora.
Okay, Empreg?
Look,
No,
look, it's
not
me.
Empreg.
Hold on.
They-
Look, Sora, it's me, Adam.
Hi, Adam. Hi,
Yeah.
Adam. What's up, Adam?
You know how I've brought up a few times about this type of subject? Don't go there.
It's
They
hard.
borrow
Okay.
the other race's women, let's say.
Even worse.
Oh, okay.
It is even worse. You don't want those videos type of thing,
That's
right?
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's meant to be part of the theme of the overall story. Like the theme of the story is pointing out the element of like a game board where when goblins attack a town, it's never really addressed because it's not a glorified thing to do. You're not taking out a dragon, but the goblins in this story like absolutely ravage towns. Like they just destroy people in towns. And so this guy's like whole life is basically destroying the goblins because nobody else is doing it. It's got moments where it's absolutely hilarious, but like the main scene in the first episode was what drew me in because they were like, yeah, that world kind of sucks. Why would you want to live there?
Goblins are fucking horrific.
They're little
This
monsters.
This isn't going to be a, oh, look at the little guy. No, goblins are fucking horrific. They aren't
Like-
just green trash pandas. They're monsters. They will do monstrous things. They will do unbelievably monstrous things. Let's not kid ourselves about this.
It's why I genuinely liked it. Like they weren't, beating around the bush. They weren't making it out like, because I was getting kind of a little bit fed up with this theme lately where I understand the fantasy of like, oh, somebody passed away and you're rebirthed into this super world where God's made a hookup with you and you've got super gaming powers.
The hell?
Oh God,
Isekais.
like the last
the general
two,
premise is, so isekais are a type of anime. The general premise is you die somehow in the real world and you end up getting popped into this other world. Or not all of them do die, but you end up in this other world somehow, and you have powers in that world.
you're like OP.
Depending on which setting you're in, you either have an ability that can get you to be OP, or you really have to think through it. But there's a way that you can be OP, and some of them can get really fucking dark. Some of them can be really happy. So one of the other anime that got a lot of flack not terribly long ago was
Hero of the Shield.
Rise of the Shield Hero.
Yeah, sorry, I got the name wrong.
In Rise of the Shield Hero, the premise was that there's this world that gets attacked by monsters. So when they start getting attacked by monsters, they summon 4 heroes. There's a sword hero, a spear hero, a bow hero, and a shield hero. Think old school, like, gauntlet type setup. And each of them has different abilities. So RPG. And they summon them in, then they help them become stronger so that they're able to deal with the hordes of demons and enemies that come to attack the world. So as that's going on, the hero that this one kingdom hates the most is the shield hero, because the last time the shield hero popped up, the shield hero fucked with a lot of things that they viewed as points of identity for their empire. Their empire was extremely racist and was enslaving a race of half-humans, effectively, beast people. So, as they had summoned the heroes, they decided that they were going to fuck over the shield hero, and their princess framed him for goblining her, shall we say?
Yep.
And it got a lot of shit because...
Now, when you say gobbling her,
we just talked about what goblins do to people in Goblin Slayer. She accused him of that.
Yeah, well, what
Struggle hugging her.
How is that turbo hugging?
Struggle hug.
Yeah.
Struggle.
The struggle.
Oh.
Yeah, she accused him of struggle snuggling her, and it caused a massive stink because people were going, oh, this is just one of those women just make up being assaulted stories. And people got really pissed off. But it worked in the setting. It was a good fucking story in the setting. There's other questionable things. A lot of these stories have fairly questionable things. Like the one that people get pissed off for when it comes to Shield Hero is he's getting a bunch of companions. A good chunk of his companions he's purchased.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't keep them as purchases, but he purchased them. And people have problems because, oh, you shouldn't be allowed to show someone being purchased like that when it's grow the fuck up. It's a world where that exists. The hero ended up buying someone and then frees them. They aren't going, yep, let me get another dozen people to throw into the fight at the local slave pit. It was okay, you have a buy one, get one deal. You're pissed off at this world. You hate everyone. Fuck it. This exists. I'm going to at least get someone that will help me out for a period of time. And then he frees everyone as time goes on. And that's actually a point of the story early on.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's been so fucked over by this world that he's in and by his life before he came to this world.
Mm-hmm.
He thought that the only reason that anyone would want to be around him is if they're forced to be around him. And then he finds out that no, one of the other characters actually likes being around him. And that massively changes his character for the better.
Mm-hmm.
But people had a massive issue and shit the bed because, oh, this is displaying slavery.
Which tells you that they didn't really read the book, because he even has thinking on that.
Yep.
Like, his own character is like, yeah, this is a little bit of a struggle because it is immoral to him. But at the same time, as he's buying people, he's also in his own way setting them free.
Yep.
Like,
because what he ends up doing is he doesn't feel like he has the power to end the practice in the kingdom as a whole. But he can purchase who he can and then free them and give them the option of, hey, you can help me in what I'm having to do. You can go do this, you're free. Or if you don't want to help with the fighting and you don't want to completely just run away for fear that you'll be captured again, you can hang out with us and we'll make sure that you're taken care of. But if you can help out here and there, please.
I think this is why I end up with opinions thinking this is to do with our education system, because I remember seeing some of your punk kids and our punk kids thinking that Thomas Jefferson, I don't know if it was Thomas Jefferson, it was one of your guys having stuff to do with slaves, and it's one of those things where like, well, if it's in the motion, that's what they're doing, and it's the only way he can set them free is to buy them.
Well, there were a number
Didn't Jefferson have like a bunch of kids? I think isn't that the problem?
So with Jefferson, there's a couple different things that played into it. There's Jefferson had spoken against slavery at different points in his life, but he owned slaves until the day that he died. A lot of people are going, well, that's bullshit. He clearly didn't really have a problem with slavery. There's one major problem with that. And that is Jefferson had made it clear that he was meaning to release his slaves at the first point that he could. And Virginia changed its laws on when you could release your slaves, ultimately making it so that you could release slaves upon death, but you couldn't set them free prior to that.
Which is kind of dumb.
Yeah, didn't Washington run across that issue?
Yeah, there were a number of the founding fathers that ran into that. Jefferson was one of them. I think Washington was another. Washington actually was able to free his slaves because there was a different event that happened in there that he was able to free them upon his death. Jefferson was able to free his slaves upon his death. One of the founding fathers was intending to free them upon his death, and then his state changed its law, so it was you could release slaves if they were given to you as part of an inheritance, but you couldn't release them any other way effectively.
It's almost as though we were in the middle of a transition between what was an old world way of living and a new world in the first place, because you were setting up a new government. You were going through your own fights, your own civil wars. You were also fighting with people overseas. And all at the same time, you're trying to keep your people together. There's only so much you can do in a transition period. And they've never taught these kids that. Like, there's no, like, in between. I actually don't think they know how many people died fighting for that. Well, it's one of those gapping holes where I'm like, I don't think they do.
You are 100% correct. They are given so much history and so little time to be able to express it. And that's where we run into the problem. It was a lot more complicated. I mean, and it affected a lot of people worldwide anyways, so
yeah.
And I'm trying to remember which founding father it is, because there's one of them that I don't think it was Jefferson. I think it was another one, but it might have been Jefferson, which there's he was screwing his slaves and he screwed this one, and when testing was done, his brother had, because his children did not match the children of the line that supposedly had been descended from him. So it became an indication that, his brother had screwed her, not the founding father. And it's kind of like there's also people that will go after Grant for it, and the ones that go after Grant are the most infuriating to my mind. Because do you know the story about Grant owning slaves?
I do not.
So, Grant was madly in love with this one woman. She was madly in love with him. Her father was a massive slave owner.
Mm-hmm.
And, at one point, said that he wasn't willing to let his daughter marry someone who didn't even have enough to own a slave.
Yikes.
And then the daughter was able to get the father to gift him a slave. Grant fucking hated it. Kept on, like, telling the slave, no, dude, stop trying to do things for me. I'm not an invalid. I can get shit ready myself. He was known to, when he visited his father-in-law's farm, he would strip down to his shirt sleeves and go out to the field to work with the slaves his father-in-law owned, much to the embarrassment of his father-in-law. He married the woman that he loved, and then the moment that he and her were married, he promptly set the one slave that he had forced upon him free. And it was at a time when he was completely fucking destitute. And it would have really, really helped him out, having the money that he could have received from selling the slave. But he set the man free, condemning himself to being absolutely fucking destitute, getting nothing out of it. He set him free because he hated the idea of slavery. He never wanted to own a slave. He hated having to keep someone because his father-in-law wouldn't allow him to marry his wife without a slave. So the fact that people look at Grant and will go, well, Grant owned a slave, you don't know the fucking story.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of that. Yeah, a lot of people did a lot of things back then to try to help. Like, there were a lot of people who weren't in agreement with what was going on. And yeah, there were white slaves. You can call them whatever you want, but that's what they were doing.
First anti-miscegenation law was a law forbidding breeding your white slaves with your black slaves.
Well, you know, it's a little too much to have to look into the history of it. So it's much easier to say black people were slaves. And that's it.
Also, the fact that people will look at slavery and go, well, look at how many people are descended from slaves in America versus you keep on pointing to the Arab slave trade. How many people are born the children of slaves in the Arab world? Do you know why that's a really bad argument?
Because they tend to neuter theirs?
Yeah, they castrate. They would castrate all of their slaves. So pointing to the Arab world and going, oh, you keep on pointing to the Arab world, but the Arab world doesn't have a bunch of children of slaves in it. Now, does it? So they didn't do slavery as much. No, they did slavery more. What they didn't do is they didn't allow their slaves to procreate. So, yeah, that's the reason why you don't have a bunch of people born of slaves in the Arab world. It's because they were castrated, and you can't produce offspring if your testicles were cut off.
It's also when it comes to the Arabic world and their slavery, like, it doesn't seem like they kept numbers in the same autistic way that the West did.
Oh, no. And they burnt through slaves at a ridiculously fast rate with...
Like,
I thought I'd at least throw a joke in there too to ease the subject a little bit. But no, like the West in like documenting things, like there's a reason why they can pick on them a lot because they wrote everything down.
Yeah, and one of the most horrific types of slavery when it came to the Arab world was being on a slave galley.
No.
If you ever read the records of those, they're goddamn horrifying, but I just noticed the time.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we went like pretty good.
Yep. Shall we go around the horn for parting words?
The time of the slave train?
So, who wants to go first?
I can. Nothing exciting, but I wish everyone a wonderful weekend.
Copy that. And who wants to go next?
Parting words. Don't throw bananas at people. That's not how allergies work. And try to be decent. And we're all going to hell anyway. So I'm picking George Carlin. I don't know about you guys.
Wow.
I didn't know. Your turn, Adam.
Okay, yeah. How do I follow that?
That sounds entirely up to you.
Well, first off, I want to thank you, Sanguine, for letting me hang out with you.
Always fun.
Yeah, dude. Like I said, I always look forward to Fridays when I can shoot the shit at Sanguines. And super surprised that Jen and Sora is gonna hang out. Wow. It's
He sounds so excited.
it's not it's I gotta put on my tuxedo best, right? I gotta impress these two Canadian ladies.
So that was what you're going for, not you have dry eyes.
Well, it's like, oh shit, if it's just me and Sanguine, we can, oh yeah, dude, farting and shitting and but then all of a sudden we got now we got to present ourselves nicely. That's where it's like, oh shit, we're on a whole different level. But it is nice to have chatted with the both of you.
Mm-hmm.
I thank you. Likewise.
So I'll leave off with a different thing than my normal. Instead, I'll leave off with, it's a comforting notion that power corrupts because it spares us from having to admit we were blind to the darkness or worse, ignored it. Power doesn't corrupt. It merely removes external governors for good or ill. And with that, have a good night all. The zoo is closed.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Night. And now I click this and it takes a couple